Hi everybody. It sure seems like it's been a while since I did one of these reviews. Probably because I've been reading slowly because the book I'm about to review is very long and the other book I'm reading is kind of boring. One I'm about to review is Gardens of the Moon by Steven Erikson, which I got a free copy of from Tor because this is their ebook of the month club selection for September of 2016. This particular book is an epic fantasy with some military sort of stuff going on. It also has a lot of really silly names, really silly made-up sounding kind of names, so I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce at least some of them. It's set in what's called the Malazan Empire, which is basically, a country that has decided it wants to conquer as much of the world as possible, and it's currently waging war with a group of free cities, which it has managed to conquer all but one. One it has most recently conquered is Pale, which is where the action takes place just after the conquest of that. And basically a group of the soldiers are sent ahead to Darjuistan, which is the only remaining free city, but it's also one that's very well defended, even though without armies and stuff. It's got a group of strong mages and all kinds of other people protecting it. But sent to infiltrate it is the Bridge Burners, a group of military that the current empress is trying to get rid of because they were loyal to the old emperor or something. And the group is led by Whiskey Jack, who at one point was like a general or something in the army and isn't now. And there are various people in the group various other people that were loyal to the emperor that the old emperor that the current empress wants to get rid of. And, then they get there and there's all kinds of weird stuff and, get to Darjuistan or whatever the hell it's called, and all kinds of weird stuff happens with gods and immortals and monsters and all kinds of weird. I mean, it's not really super weird. It's just all kinds of stuff happening. I thought it got a little confusing at points, but I still enjoyed it. So now I'll, after that brief and rather incoherent plot synopsis, I'll give you a brief and probably more coherent reading. "Bride and fool," the old woman was saying, "'tis the way of the empress, as like the gods themselves." She leaned to one side and spat, then brought a soiled cloth to her wrinkled lips. "3 husbands and 2 sons I saw off to war." The fisher girl's eyes shone as she watched the column of mounted soldiers thunder past, and she only half listened to the hag standing beside her. The girl's breath had risen to the pace of the magnificent horses. She felt her face burning, a flush that had nothing to do with the heat. The day was dying, the sun's red smear over the trees on her right, and the seas sighing against her face had grown cool. "That was in the days of the emperor," the hag continued. "Hood roast the bastard's soul on a spit. But look on, lass. Lassine scatters bones with the best of them. Heh, she started with his, didn't she now?" The fisher girl nodded faintly as befitted the low-born. They waited by the roadside. The old woman burdened beneath a rough sack filled with turnips, the girl with a heavy basket balanced on her head. Every minute or so, the old woman shifted the sack from one bony shoulder to another. With the riders crowding them on the road, and the ditch behind them a steep drop to broken rocks, she had no place to put down the sack. "Scatters bones, I said. Bones of husbands, bones of sons, bones of wives, and bones of daughters. All the same to her, all the same to the empire." The old woman spat a second time. 3 husbands and 2 sons, 10 coin apiece a year. 5 of 10's 20. 50 coin a year's cold company, lass. Cold in winter, cold in bed. The fisher girl wiped dust from her forehead. Her bright eyes darted among the soldiers passing before her. The young men atop their high-backed saddles held expressions stern and fixed straight ahead. The few women who rode among them sat tall and somehow fiercer than the men. The sunset cast red glints from their helms, flashing so that the girl's eyes stung and her vision blurred. Overall, I gotta say, I rather enjoyed the book. I don't think it's bad or anything. I did think there were some problems with it. Number one is that for fantasy, the magic system is one that just I did not understand at all. It wasn't really explained how it works, and it played an important enough part in the story that it probably should have been explained better. The basic gist of it I got is that there's something called warrens, which are like some kind of weird extra-dimensional spaces or something, inhabited by gods and supernatural beings, and somehow the wizards can tap into those and draw power or something. It's never really explained all that well. And for that matter, another thing that's not really explained is the whole cosmology. I mean, there are gods in it and supernatural beings, but the gods don't seem to be like mythological gods on Earth where they were supposedly always there. They just, there's some that are older and some that are newer, and never really explained where they came from or what the gods are. Or for that matter, why it is that some of the immortals are stronger than gods, and even some of the wizards are apparently stronger than gods. So I don't know what the point is of being a god. And let's see, the other problem I had, well, there was the ending. I mean, it was kind of a Deus Ex Machina business there at the end, where an evil monster from before humanity has been wakened from its barrow and is about to lay waste to the city as part of the Empire's plan to capture it. And then some weird thing called an Azath pops up and grabs a hold of the creature and just sucks it inside, and poof, it's gone. No foreshadowing that this thing is going to be there, really. No explanation of what it is, really, other than that it's a thing that shows up when magic is going to threaten the world or something. Just pops up out of nowhere. A couple other things that annoyed me were there were too many characters in it. I mean, it's an epic fantasy, so you expect a lot. There's characters on both the sides of the Malazan Empire and our Jewy Stanny thingy. But all of them are put in a sympathetic light, which leads to another problem. It's hard to know who to root for. I mean, you don't want the city to be conquered because you kind of like the people who are defending it, but you don't want the Malazan soldiers to get killed either because you're kind of rooting for them because they're sympathetic characters too. That isn't really a bad thing. That's actually probably a fairly good thing, but it's nice to have somebody to root for, but you don't really get it. Although I definitely really enjoyed it, and I will probably pick up some more of the books in the series. In fact, I already apparently have the 4th volume around here somewhere. Didn't realize it until after I finished reading this, but I must have picked it up and never read it, because I pick up a lot of books and never read them. I'll definitely get around to it eventually. I just have to refine volumes 2 and 3 first, and then I'll read that one too. Till then, I've got other reviews coming soon. And I will give this particular book I reviewed 4 gas masks. I thought it was pretty good, but it could have been better. And that's all for now. Goodbye.
If you like this video, please click subscribe or watch some of my older videos. If you think the book I reviewed sounds interesting, buy a copy. There are always links to the Amazon store in the description for this book and any other books I mentioned. If you have any suggestions on other books I could read, or any other comments, queries, insults, or anything else you want to say, please feel free to mention it in the comments section.